It's so new that women of our age can not only have a job, have money, whatever, that we can create so much wealth and abundance for ourselves. I mean, it's still not available to everyone on the planet, let's face it, but my mother didn't have these opportunities, her mother didn't, and so no wonder it's scary. Like, can we just have some compassion for ourselves here? That we are literally just breaking free centuries of oppression.
Hello, everybody. This show has been created to inspire you to take action.
Celebrating and reframing what success looks like
To be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
and we have incredible speakers for you tonight.
Hello, everybody, and we are so excited to have you here once again for the Future Females Show.
I am Lauren Dallas, and this is my incredible co-host, Susana Kennedy. And this show is all about celebrating and reframing what success looks like across all different spheres and sectors. And today we are excited to be digging into the topic of wealth and money.
Money. Guys, money. Women do not speak about money enough. But one amazing entrepreneur, or should I call her a chillpreneur? I love that term. She has coined it to the T. Her name is Denise Duffield-Thomas, and she is one of the only women that I know that is leading the way in having our money mindset corrected, and I'm saying that very specifically as women, corrected so that we move into an abundance mindset. And we are tuning in all the way from Australia with Denise. How are you doing?
Hi,
Welcome.
Denise.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm on Eurovision.
Sing us a song, Denise.
Oh my God, it feels so cosmopolitan because, I mean, I speak to people all over the world all of the time, but it's very rare that it's so fabulous and live and like I'm on a show. So I'm thrilled. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me.
Yay! Oh, we are so thrilled to have you. Denise, I came across your book about your Get Rich Lucky Bitch I think it was 6 weeks ago, and I read it in, I think it was 2.5 days. So I think it was, every second I had, I was just tucking into this book, and it really was incredible. But you've written 3 books, all published by Hay House. Your history I love because you are an entrepreneur at heart, starting as a teenager already counseling people, and then getting, if I've got the story correct, one of your friends said, well, this you should get paid for this. This should be your career. And then starting to run your own workshops. And one of the things that I love that you were so honest about was that you said that money was one of those struggles. Money was one of those uncomfortable situations. And this is why I wanted to talk to you today, because I know that's the fact for so many female entrepreneurs around the world. And then you took this challenge, even though you say go with the flow, go in the path of least resistance, you took up the challenge to really tackle this money issue, and you've created a whole career out of it and helped hundreds and thousands of women around the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Like, how did you take that step so that we can help other women on their journey too?
I think my personality has always been, I'll learn something and I'll immediately teach it to someone else. And I think that's what we do as women. We solve a problem and we want to share it. Whether it's anything in our lives, we're always trying to share tips and shortcuts with each other. And I think the mindset shift for me was that is actually valuable, because I think it's also sometimes part just of who we are as women. And I was the go-to girl for my friends and family for so many things. And I think that can almost be a little bit addictive, to try and help everybody with everything. And it becomes so much a part of your personality that you almost don't believe you can monetize it. One, because it might be just, you think, well, this is just, you just help people. That's what you do. But the other part for me was just thinking, but everyone knows how to do this, or everyone can figure it out. So the other part of it, I didn't have any role models growing up around having a business. And even the business of transformation, of coaching, wasn't really mainstream. And so I think if you can't see it, it's hard to believe that you can do it yourself, which is why it's so incredible what you ladies are doing, because when we can come together and network and meet each other and see examples of success, different examples, then we can build that belief that it's possible for ourselves. So I think that was for me. I mean, you go back and meet baby Denise, she would have been fine doing this work. But it just took me a long time to realize that I was allowed to monetize that part of my personality. And that's really what my book is about, is know thyself and prosper, but find those things that you would do for free, that you do naturally, that feel like fun and play, because that is a clue to what you're here to do.
Absolutely. And Denise, you're reminding me of an amazing quote from a recent speaker we had. And she said, what's ordinary to you is extraordinary to someone else. And so what you're saying resonates so much. I think it's probably been part of both of our personal journeys through that as well. So
discovering your zone of genius and then really nurturing that zone of genius. But one of the things that, because I love that. This book, Chillpreneur, by the way, guys, it's out now and I'm loving it. You should all go and read it. It's amazing. And there's so many points in it that just resonate with me so hard. But I think one of the things that I really want to dig into is, you said money mindset. Your mindset around money was one of the biggest changes for you. It was one of the biggest turning points for you. Can you tell us how you tapped into that? What was that change? How did you do that?
Well, as I said, I felt like going into being an entrepreneur was definitely always on the cards for me, but I just couldn't figure out how to receive money for doing that. Because when you work for someone else, they set your day rate, they give you a salary. There's very particular rules about when and how you can ask for an increase. Then when you work for yourself, you have to figure all of that out yourself. And what I notice is we take it very, very personally. It is almost a reflection of our self-worth. And someone's asking us to put a number on that. How good do you think you are at this?
Yeah.
And that feels awkward, right? Because you're like, oh my God, I'm saying that I'm this good. And it's just so difficult. And so, I mean, I went through that myself, but I was always so passionate about personal development. I started to look at it from that lens of going, okay, if Louise Hay is telling me to look in the mirror and say, I love you, I accept you, what would happen if I did that with my money? And I started to look at my money as something that was worth, and my money mindset is something that was worth looking at and nurturing, because I really saw them as two separate things for a long time. And I think a lot of people do. They go, well, this is my spiritual world and this is my creative world, and my money world is over here. It's just a necessary evil. And what if we were able to be friends with money? What if we were to use money as a tool, like we use, any of our skills and talents, but any of the universal forces almost? And so that was my exploration. And then as soon as I learned something, I want to share it with others. I cannot help myself. So that was mine. It's just going, wow, I'm allowed to talk about money. We're allowed to talk about money, because I've always been that person too, of being very open. If someone asked me a question, I would tell people, well, this is where I got this and this is how much I paid for it. And let me tell you about everything. When I had a baby, I was like, let me tell you about my birth. So I've just always been that kind of open person. I thought, are we allowed to talk about money? And it's really fun to talk about money. So yeah, that was my entree into that world of doing it myself. And now what I find the best thing ever is that people tell me their money stories. And so I just get to hear all these amazing, juicy stories all day long and find all of these new nuances around why we're so scared of money.
Well, I'll tell you my money story. No, but actually, no, I think something that you were just discussing around how we attach our self-worth to money is such an interesting concept and has been a big part of my journey as well. I think
and mine. I think it's every female entrepreneur's journey, right?
Every woman.
I think every woman.
Absolutely. So I think, being into personal development, all of us, I have done a lot of practices around abundance and I'm excited to get into those. But what I realized is I was doing these ego-led manifestations for abundance, but at my soul level, I was actually attracting scarcity into my life because I needed to feel the struggle, prove I could overcome it, and just make enough to feel my self-worth. So I'm curious, and I know we were discussing before that you do a lot of work on how to ditch the hang-ups, but I took a really long, windy journey to even find my hang-up. Do you have how do you help women discover what is the blocker before they can solve it?
Well, the good thing is everyone has money blocks. That's the good news. The kind of not so great news, I suppose, is that it is a lifelong process. I've been doing this work full-time for 10 years. I've heard thousands and thousands of money stories, and I still find new stories from other people that I go, oh, me too. I'd never thought about that before. So where do you start? When people come and join my Money Bootcamp, I get them to do a bit of an inventory, like a bit of a timeline of their life. And I'll have questions there just to spark some memories. But the thing is, people might have been there for 10 years and new memories come up, or they see them in a different way. So, for example, you might say, okay, tell me about like the circumstances of your family, and so you might go, okay, cool. Well, we grew up like this and we had this kind of thing. But what I noticed is that sometimes how you grew up and how much money you had, it's sometimes like it really depends on the contrast that you saw. Because I've heard from people who they thought that they were poor, but their family were really well off. They just talked about money in a very scarce way. They talked about money as if, we're going to be homeless on the street in the next week. And they just found out later that their parents were just extremely frugal and anxious about money. Mm-hmm. And then I've heard people who grew up not so well off, but they felt abundant because of the way their families talked about money. So you could really look at your founding memories of like, what do I remember about giving holidays? If you celebrate Christmas, that can be a really good source of stories about money because you start to, it might be a source of stress or it might be a source of joy. You could look at your experiences at school. When did you know what other people had? So you might start with 10 things that you remember. And then the next year you might remember something different. And then, here's the clue of that. So you can write down all those things. So what? Connect the dots to how it's showing up for you today. Okay. So if you grew up with really frugal parents, how could that be showing up for you today? So for some people, it could be they're also very frugal and they don't need to be, even though, they've had these habits from their grandparents who grew up in the Depression. And so they've just done it without even thinking. Or sometimes people swing the other way. If you grew up hearing that it's really impolite to talk about money, how could that be showing up? Not setting prices, really worried about sending out pitches, invoicing, chasing up money. None of that will feel good for you if you grew up hearing it's impolite to talk about money. So it's really good to just have that awareness. What happened? Where did I get these stories from? And how is it showing up now?
And also identifying which ones are triggers, like really deep-rooted triggers, yes. Right? Where you have an emotional response, because where we have that emotional response, that's where we know, oh my goodness, I need to pay attention. I need to look at this. I need to change. There's so many things that I could speak to you literally for hours, but I'm trying to pick out the things that I think will help our audience the most. You were speaking earlier on about Louise Hay and looking in the mirror and doing that love reflection. And one of the things I loved in your Get Rich Lucky Bitch, which for me, by the way, Denise, I've always averted from the bitch word. Like for me, it's like, like a kind of like, what? No, I don't want to, that kind of thing. So I've always averted from it. But I love that you explained, and I think this is so important for women, that society has, I mean, even media has kind of almost brainwashed us to believe that if you are rich, then you must be a bitch. And it's as young as 101 Dalmatians, guys. It's like literally, it's like the poor, lovely, little family. They were so nice. And then Cruella, who was rich, was this bitch, And you gave so many great examples of how we've been brainwashed as women to kind of believe that if we are rich, then we must be a bitch. Even Phoebe in Friends, she was so nice. She got a high-paying job, and all of a sudden she was a bitch. And so looking in the mirror and doing that reflection exercise, what does a really wealthy woman look like? And looking in the mirror and going, that's what a really wealthy woman looks like. I love that. It was such a great aha moment for me. How do you think you would feel doing that, Lauren?
I mean, I just think back to all those old sayings like money is the root of all evil. And even as we're speaking, I'm really self-analyzing, I'm going to be honest, which is why this conversation is so great. But I think we should do more of these affirmations, around wealth generally, of course on the money side, but even this morning we were talking about body dysmorphia, and I think we also have money dysmorphia. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Are we rich? Are we poor? What is it? And how can it be relative if no one's talking about it?
Yeah, that's also come up for me. And Denise, you would know this. I was speaking to a female entrepreneur the other day, and we were talking about knowing your worth, knowing your value. And she said, us women don't talk about it. We don't talk about how much we get paid. And so none of us actually know what that is supposed to look like.
We don't know where we stand anyway. We just assume that it's not enough, typically.
Do you help your clients with that, with actually knowing where to pitch themselves when they quote?
Absolutely. Because the thing about pricing, it's totally made up. It is absolutely made up. We know that it's based on perception and positioning and, all of those different things. And you really can pull a number out of your butt, but it's true. You can, but it's true. It's where you want to position yourself in the market. Sometimes the price is just as much of a branding signifier as anything else. And people don't believe me, but I think what most people are looking for, to be very honest, ladies, we want a critic-proof price.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
That's such a good way of putting it.
So true.
Yeah. And it doesn't exist. It does not exist.
And that's such a good aha moment. That's such a good way of putting it. And that's such a good aha moment. We want a critic-proof price, and there's no way of doing that because it just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist because even if you were charging $1 for something, there will be people who will be so annoyed with you that it wasn't free. And so you have to pick a price that feels energetically win-win. And that is so personal. And that's why it's really difficult to crowdsource your pricing, to ask people what they think you should charge, especially, have you seen people do it in groups? I'm sure they do it in your groups. They sometimes would do it in mine until I shut that down, because they'd say, hey guys, what should I charge for this? And it's like, well, first of all, are they your target market? Second, though, are they actually in the need of what you offer right now? Because I've paid for things that I was like, I wouldn't have paid that unless I was in the market and I need it now. And so even then you don't know. So one thing you could ask though is, hey, if you're a graphic designer, how much have you paid for X? Because then that's actual data, rather than a million different opinions that are going to make you feel so horrible anyway. And the truth is now, with a lot of our groups, we live in very different places, cities, countries. We have different target markets for different, incomes. And so it's just confusing us. And if you imagine that everyone's carrying around, I've got an apple, so this is a good illustration. Everyone's carrying around their own little money blocks. Every time you crowdsource people's opinions on your pricing, you're just going, oh, thank you, I'll take your money blocks too. Okay, I'll take yours. I'll take yours. Okay, I'll take yours. And you're just carrying around everyone else's money stuff. And you have no idea where they got theirs from. Some of their money blocks could be decades old. Something that their dad or their grandpa said to them about, oh, girls can't make money or something like that. And so I know it sounds very unscientific, but you know when it feels right in your body. And
absolutely,
once it doesn't, you can change it again, because you're never going to find either the critic-proof price, and you're never going to find the price forever, your forever price.
I love that so much. Can I just bring up one of my wounds that you touched on in Chillpreneur that I know about? So I am an intuitive transformational coach, and I've always been very spiritually connected my whole life. And I've always known that somehow this was connected to my block against receiving money. And that sounds crazy to a lot of people. But I've even had a past life regression where they said to me that I've been, the medicine woman, the witch, the something, for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And in olden day cultures, in these past forgotten times, the community would look after these women because they contributed in that way. So they didn't earn money. It was about the community looked after them. So the money exchange was not a thing. And today we have this thing where if you are a healer, or if you are of service from a healing perspective, that it's almost frowned upon, not almost, it is frowned upon. I encounter it a lot, that you would want to actually charge for your services, and we forget that we live in a modern age and that we have bills to pay. I have to buy groceries and pay rent. And that has been a huge thing for me. So I did do your quiz. I know you have this amazing quiz that tells you what your archetype is.
Oh,
and I did, I will share it with you. So I am the carer. It was right at the top. It was, I am the carer, and I want to look after everybody. And I know for a fact, one of my money kind of self-sabotaging things is that I care about everyone so much. I just want to spend everything on everyone and look after everyone, and I pay everyone before I pay myself. We were talking about
I did just come home to new candlesticks, a new grater. Susanna's staying for 2 nights, and she's redone my whole kitchen.
So I know that's one of my big money blocks, and you spoke about it in Chillpreneur, because it's not only mine, it's a lot of women's money blocks. That's a really deep thing, because it's not just our generation, it's generations and generations and generations. So do you believe that there is a way of actually correcting a money block that is so layered? Do you know what I mean, Denise? It's not just something that we picked up here in our lifetime. It's layered throughout society.
Yes. Well, this is why the work, I actually don't really save much clearing money blocks, because you're going to just continue to find them. I call it excavating money blocks, because the truth is it has been built a layer at a time. Little things that are in your DNA that have been passed along for generations and generations that you don't even realize are there. Things that, you heard and saw growing up. So we've got these massive layers, and they feel real. That is our foundation. And so each time we carve out a bit of time, we're just carving out, and we might find a juicy little nugget, but then there's more. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that you have to wait until everything's cleared for you to make money. Sometimes it unlocks something in you, and you go, oh, okay, now I can sell my work. Now I can put a price on it. And then you will find the fear might start creeping in again. Have you noticed that? Where you go, oh, I thought I was doing fine, but now I've hit a new income plateau.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. So it's just a little bit more digging work. That's fine. Go and find another little nugget, a little nugget of gold. And if you think of it like that, of those little gold nuggets, then it doesn't feel like you're just being punished all the time and having to do the work. because you're getting rewarded.
And focusing on progression, right? Instead of perfection.
Exactly. And I'm glad that you said that about the fact that, it's the ancestral stuff, right? It's so new that women of our age can not only have a job, have money, whatever, but we can create so much wealth and abundance for ourselves. I mean, it's still not available to everyone on the planet, let's face it, but my mother didn't have these opportunities. Her mother didn't. And so no wonder it's scary. Like, can we just have some compassion for ourselves here, that we are literally just breaking free centuries of oppression. And let's face it, the three of us are white. So there's extra layers there for people who are not white or people who have different abilities. And no wonder we're all scared. But we think, I should just be able to just post, on my blog. I should be able to show up on social media. It's scary. We've never had this level of visibility before. So even though it's an amazing time to be a woman in business, the opportunities are huge. We're chartering new territory that we don't have very many examples from our own families, let alone society and culture. Few little outliers for every generation. So we're doing incredible things. So we have to be compassionate. And the thing that I sometimes make myself laugh with is I think of my grandmother, who, had 4 kids. She couldn't work full time. She couldn't have her own independence. I could just think, if I said to her, but what if someone's mean to me on TikTok? I just laugh at that, because she would just go, oh my God, get out of the way. Like, you can have your own money. This is amazing. No, someone might be mean to me on TikTok. A TikTok teen might tease me. And that's what makes me just go, okay, perspective, opportunity, incredible. And, there's a lot of things going on in the world at the moment that are still incredibly unfair. And I remind myself, money gives us choice and power. But that's a loaded word, power, because people on the planet have not used power in very great ways. Yeah. And so I think we fear that sometimes, instead of realizing that we can and we do use money as a very different tool than most of the powerful people have. Yeah. And so you have to remind yourself, I can handle this power and I can handle this choice. But people have never had choice before. And so we don't know what to do with it. It feels scary and new. That's okay. Give ourselves that love and reassurance.
I don't know if you know Kate Gray, but I love that she always says money equals units of choice. And I really love that, because it's not good or bad. It just equals units of choice.
An opportunity, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know that one of the things you speak about is following the path of least resistance. And I think it's, I want to go there next, because we have just been talking about that fear that can hold you back. So how do you find and follow that path?
Well, know thyself and prosper. Know thyself. And it can be in really big and little ways. So when I realized that I was an introvert, that was eye-opening to me, because I was a performer growing up. I realized how much I forced myself to, play a part, but it would be very draining. I would go to parties as a kid and as a teenager and go sit in the bathroom and just go, but
I still do that.
I'd just sit there in the toilet for a little bit and just go, I just need a moment to myself. And I thought there was just something wrong with me, So even just understanding that nuance was life-changing for me. In a business context, it means that when I do events, when I run retreats, when I have, a big promotional period, I need to make sure I've got time to recalibrate, because I know that about myself. And I think you can use any personality test to know more about yourself and make those little adjustments. And so it can really start with something as big as, oh, am I an introvert or extrovert? Which is, there's obviously shades in between, but it's pretty big, right? Pretty broad. And then you could go, all right, well, I'm a nurturer personality. So what does that mean? I need to make sure that I have some kind boundaries in place. So I don't feel bad and feel like a bitch for setting boundaries. And so each new thing that you learn about yourself, you can make just a little adjustment. And so the idea is to get rid of the friction, rid of the guilt, allow yourself to do what feels natural. And everyone second guess this because they go, but I'm not allowed. It's not allowed to be easy and fun and make money. I have to sacrifice at least one of those things. And so that's usually the lesson. And I'll say to people, what do you want? What do you like? What are your preferences? And they have no idea, especially women who are a couple of, generations older than me. They've never had choice. And so they do not know what they like. And if that is you, especially nurturers too, because nurturers can be so spongy. So it's like, well, what do you like?
Are you spongy?
It's true though, isn't it, Susana?
Yeah, 100. No, you're 100% right. I'm always saying like, what do you need? How can I look after you? Absolutely.
Yes. So it starts with being really honest with yourself. What are my preferences? And just keep on asking. And sometimes you'll hit one and you go, oh, I'm not allowed to have that. And it could be, the pandemic has really shown that. 3 years ago, I would hear people say, oh, I can't do my readings online on Zoom. My clients will never agree to that. Kinesiologists, they're saying, no, but I have to muscle test people in person. People will never do it on Zoom. And we're allowed to. And sometimes you just have to go, well, if I don't, there's no business. So it's like, it's this or nothing, people. And then you realize that you can just design it how you want to design it.
Absolutely. I think what's coming up for me is that concept around the paradox of choice, though. And actually, the more options we have, almost the harder it becomes and the more frozen. And something that I have learned is that we're very bad predictors of our own happiness. And so making a decision before we're in it, at least for my personality type, I often, will go down one path and completely change my mind or reach that point where I'm like, how? How did I end up here? I used to run a consulting company selling my hours. This was after I left corporate. I had 4 or 5 clients, thought I was absolutely killing it and realized that I was earning less. I had 4 or 5 bosses instead of just the one. And I was like, this is the exact opposite of what I had set out to achieve, and really hitting that low to then change paths. But I think what I love and how you describe it is it's kind of this organic exploration, like allow yourself to feel this path and make your adjustments and stop doing something if it's not working for you or if it is draining.
Yeah, I think that stop doing something if it's not working for you, but also acknowledge what is working for you. I think that that's also one of the big, big keys. I'm passionate about knowing myself. I think I've done every possible personality test, every kind of thing that you can do that I encounter, I will do. So Dolly Parton, I heard this quote when I was young and I loved it. I think Dolly Parton is just a kick-ass girl boss. I love it a bit. And she said, get to know yourself and do it on purpose. And I loved that quote. I was like, yes, I need to know myself. And I'm saying that because there are areas of my life that, of course, I'm still working on because I'm human. And we're on this human journey. And so we never stop working on ourselves. And I think that being honest about that to other women is so important as well, because there's this perception that we are perfect, on Instagram and social media and all of that, and we're all just a work in progress. And so one of the things that I really that I really got from your book that I loved as well is be a contributor, not a guru. Like that takes the pressure off so immensely. I've always been of the kind of mindset that I'll share with my followers and my community. I'm having a really bad day. It's been really tough, and this is how I'm dealing with it. This is these are the steps I'm taking to move through it with less struggle, with less suffering and more ease. And just because I am a transformational coach doesn't mean I don't have bad days, and doesn't mean I don't struggle as well. But when you said that, like, be a contributor, not a guru, I loved it so much because it fits into the whole ethos of what you and I, Lauren, actually believe in.
Absolutely.
Which is not to compete with other female entrepreneurs or other female business owners or other females, full stop, but really to look at how we can all help
Rise
each
together.
other rise.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I mean, one of our values even at Future Females is give first. And that's really what it is all about. And I would say we have attracted, and in the network and probably people watching this right now, it's about giving, supporting the women around you so that their path is less resistant than the generations before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to just really acknowledge you for sharing that, because I think it is so, so helpful to women. And then the other really big aha moment for me.
It is Eurovision. We're back.
It is. Woo! But the other huge thing that I noticed when I read Get Rich Lucky Bitch, one of the tips you gave was to give your money the attention that you would give a lover or a partner. And so literally every day tracking your money, setting a goal, because obviously if we don't have an actual number that we're aiming for, we don't know where we're aiming. So setting that goal of going, this is how much I need to earn, and then tracking it every day. And can I tell you something, Denise? I did that for a month, and I hit my target. I started doing it the next month, and I was hitting my target, and then I got distracted by life, and I stopped giving it the loving attention that it deserved, and I completely missed my target. So for me, that was a very practical tool that women can use if they really want to more abundance and wealth, like just one little tool of just tracking your money, but also just treating it like a lover.
I love that. I also think it takes away the fear. I think often when you're not tracking, you almost don't want to start for fear that you're not where you think that you might be.
Yeah.
Money loves attention. And I think that works so perfectly for a nurturer personality. When I say to them, stop mean girling your money. And they go, oh my God, I am. Because, nurturers are the ones who choose the ugly carrots at the grocery store because they don't want them to be left out. And then, and so as soon as I say to people, you're a mean girling your money, it changes everything for them because they go, oh my God, no, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's so great because Denise has also got a little app that tracks your money. And I love that, initially your journey was you would attract all these abundance options, but they weren't actually cash. So you would win a trip and you'd do this and that's me, Denise. I literally, like, the universe takes care of me all the time. I just somehow, it always works out. But I get right to the end and then it always works out. So that's the shift that I want to kind of change in my life. But the fact is that this works, guys. That's why I'm sharing it with you. Like, it really, I can't believe how beautifully it demonstrated itself in my life. It really, really works. So I invite everyone watching to, for the next month, just set a money goal for the next month and treat your money like a lover.
We want candles.
Attention.
We want dating. We want aphrodisiac food.
That's it. Like, get stuck in there. But don't only look at, obviously hard money is important, but in the app, it's also gifts. It's also sponsorships. It's also those wealth that is pouring into your life in different ways, not just the hard cash. And that was so great because what I did next, on the next month when I lost focus, when I refocused, I realized that I'd almost hit my money goal, but not with the cash, but with all the other things that had come into my life. So it's amazing. Like, all of a sudden just shifted my mindset and it came in.
I love that. And that is a nice challenge as well to be leaving everyone with. If you are not tracking your money, if you're not waking up with love in your heart for your money and even knowing what your bank balance is, then definitely get the app. We'll share it out with the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Denise, I could literally speak to you for hours. You are amazing. I love your books. I'm on your second one. I'm going to read your third one. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yes. So I actually have a new edition coming out of Chillpreneur. So don't go by Chillpreneur, buy the new one. It's actually got a revamped name as well. So it's been renamed Chill and Prosper. And it's got a ton of new case studies in it, and it's got a ton of new gifts as well. So is it okay if I give you guys the URL of that right now?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Is it okay? Yeah. Oh, thank you. It's at denisedt.com/prosper. And I've got a ton of gifts for anyone who pre-orders the new version of it.
Oh, and I literally bought your Chillpreneur 2 days ago. So I'm going to have to just get the other one as well.
I'll share my gift.
Yeah. Well, the cool, I'll tell you what the pre-order bonus is actually, because it's really awesome. I always would get people say, do you meditate? Do you do things like that? And I'd go, actually, no, my brain just goes off, but I love subliminal meditations. And so I get my affirmations and I record them. And this is what I've done for the pre-order. But I've done business ones. So affirmations about loving marketing and increasing your money and increasing your prices and breaking through 6 figures and breaking through 7 figures. And so I've done all of those as affirmations and visualizations. And then I've got beautiful meditation music. So you can listen to them while you're working and just soak it up and not have to sit. If you're like me and can't do it, you don't have to sit and listen to them. They'll just still soak in. So it's a layered approach to changing your mindset without even having to think about it. And they are free when people pre-order the book.
I love that. Thank you so much. Denise, it's been such a privilege and so much fun just chatting to you. You really are just wonderful and so down to earth and relatable that I really hope that our whole community dives on board and gets stuck into your books. You've also weaved them just so that you guys know if you are an entrepreneur within a similar field, go and check out the way Denise weaves everything together so seamlessly, how she connects her books with her programs, with everything. It's just beautifully, beautifully done. So check that out.
Check it out. And Denise, yes, another massive thank you from me and on behalf of our community as well. Such authentic sharing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Have an amazing day.
Thank you. And to everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with another episode of the Future Female Show really, really soon. Bye for now.
See you soon.